American and German political culture. I. American political culture. American political culture embodies a complex blend of historic ideals, diverse societal values, and a unique brand of democracy, rooted deeply in the Enlightenment principles that inspired its founding documents. The United States has developed a political culture characterized by a strong emphasis on individual freedom, democracy, and the rule of law. These foundational beliefs are enshrined in the U.S. Constitution and have been interpreted, contested, and expanded upon throughout the nation's history. Historical foundations. The origins of American political culture can be traced back to the Revolutionary period, when the 13 colonies sought independence from British rule. This era was heavily influenced by Enlightenment thinkers such as John Locke and Montesquieu, whose ideas on individual liberty, the social contract, and the separation of powers profoundly shaped American ideals. The Declaration of Independence and the Constitution reflect these principles, emphasizing individual rights and the establishment of a government by and for the people. B. Core values. Several core values hold a central place in American political culture. Liberty and freedom. Liberty is perhaps the most cherished value, manifesting in strong protections for freedoms, ranging from speech and assembly to religion and the press. This focus on individual rights often extends into economic dimensions, favoring free market principles and limited government intervention. Equality. While historically the U.S. has struggled with issues of racial, gender, and economic inequality, the principle of equality remains a key ideal. With continuous efforts aimed at expanding civil rights and ensuring equal opportunities for all citizens. Democracy. The United States prides itself on its democratic process, though the system is not without criticisms. Regarding voter access, representation, and the influence of money in politics, individualism. This is reflected in the American dream, the belief that anyone can succeed through hard work and determination without governmental or societal limitations. Rule of law. The idea that law should govern the nation, and not arbitrary decisions by individual government officials, plays a significant role in American political and civil life. Political participation and civic engagement. In the United States, political and civic participation are considered both a right and a civic duty, reflecting the foundational democratic principle that government should be of the people, by the people, for the people. The robust engagement of American citizens in the political process is facilitated through various means, including voting, activism, and public service, voting and electoral participation. Voting is the most direct form of political participation in the U.S. and is fundamental to the functioning of its democracy. American citizens are encouraged to vote in federal, state, and local elections, though voter turnout can vary significantly. Activism and advocacy. Activism is another vital aspect of political participation in the U.S. Americans have a long history of grassroots activism, advocating for changes in public policy on issues ranging from civil rights and environmental protection to gun control and healthcare reform. Role of NGOs, interest groups, and advocacy groups. The United States has a vibrant civil society with a diverse array of organizations that engage in political and civic activities. These organizations play a pivotal role in the democratic process by providing platforms for advocacy, educating the public on issues, and lobbying government officials. For example, NGOs like the American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU, work to protect individual rights and liberties, while interest groups such as the National Rifle Association, NRA, advocate for specific policy agendas. Advocacy groups across the political spectrum ensure that a wide range of voices and interests are represented in the public discourse and policymaking process. Public service. Engagement in public service, whether through elected positions or volunteering at the local level, is another crucial aspect of civic participation. Many Americans serve on local school boards, city councils, or as volunteers in public service organizations. Challenges and opportunities. While the U.S. has robust mechanisms for political and civic participation, it faces ongoing challenges including political polarization, misinformation, and systemic barriers that can inhibit full civic engagement. Addressing these issues is crucial for maintaining the health of America's democratic institutions. Additionally, evolving digital landscapes present both opportunities and challenges for civic engagement, requiring continuous adaptation to ensure that political participation is inclusive, informed, and impactful. D. Challenges and criticisms. American political culture, celebrated for its commitment to democracy and individual freedoms, grapples with significant challenges that test these ideals. Polarization. Polarization in American politics has intensified, manifesting stark divisions that extend beyond the halls of Congress into the fabric of society. This divide has escalated from differing political ideologies to a widespread, visceral partisanship affecting family gatherings, community interactions, and public discourse. Economic inequality. Despite its wealth, the U.S. faces significant economic disparities that have broad implications for its claim to being a land of opportunity. Systemic racism. Systemic racism is another profound challenge within American society. It permeates various sectors, including the criminal justice system, education, housing, and healthcare, global influence and perception. Internationally, the U.S. has a complex legacy as a proponent of democracy and human rights. While it has historically positioned itself as a global leader in these areas, its foreign policy decisions have often been viewed as self-interested or hegemonic. Addressing the challenges. To address these issues, a multifaceted approach is necessary. Reducing polarization, initiatives to foster dialogue and understanding between different political and social groups can help mitigate polarization. Education on media literacy and critical thinking may also reduce the spread of misinformation that often fuels divisiveness. Combating economic inequality policy measures such as tax reform, increased access to quality education, and healthcare reforms are critical to reducing economic disparities. Eradicating systemic racism, continued legal and social reforms are necessary to dismantle systemic barriers that perpetuate racial inequalities. This includes reforms in policing, criminal justice, education, and housing policies. Refining foreign policy to improve its global standing, the U.S. may benefit from more multilateral engagement and policies that consistently reflect its democratic values, focusing on genuine collaboration and mutual respect in international relations. Future directions. The future of American political culture will likely continue to evolve in response to internal challenges and global dynamics. Issues such as immigration, climate change, and global economic shifts will require adaptations to traditional American policies and values. As the demographic makeup of the country changes, so too might its collective political values, potentially leading to new interpretations of old ideals like liberty, equality, and democracy. Germany's political culture. Germany's political culture is deeply rooted in its complex history, shaped by the trials of two world wars and the division of the Cold War, culminating in a robust commitment to democratic values, social responsibility, and the rule of law. Today, Germany stands as a prime example of progressive democracy in Europe, characterized by a consensus-driven and stable political system, underpinned by strong institutional frameworks, historical foundations. The profound impact of World War II and the Holocaust has led to deep national introspection in Germany. This reflection spurred a resolute determination to prevent such atrocities from recurring, instilling a deep commitment to democracy, human rights, and international cooperation among the German populace. This historical consciousness is a cornerstone of German political life, influencing both domestic policies and international relations. Post-war, Germany was bifurcated into East and West until the Berlin Wall fell in 1989, leading to reunification in 1990. This event did not merely alter the political landscape, but also unified East and West German societies under a shared commitment to democratic principles, further strengthening the nation's political culture. Key features of German political culture: stability and consensus. German political culture highly values stability and consensus building. The political system promotes cooperation across party lines through mechanisms, such as the constructive vote of no confidence, which stipulates that a chancellor can only be ousted if there is a majority support for a successor. Additionally, the federal system and proportional representation ensure a broad spectrum of views is represented, mitigating extreme policy shifts. Social market economy. At the heart of German political culture lies the social market economy, which harmonizes a competitive capitalist economy with a robust social welfare system to ensure general well-being and reduce social inequalities.
In the words of historian Louis Hartz, the United States was born free. Its liberation from British rule began where I'm standing, on the village green in Lexington, Massachusetts. It was here on a spring morning in 1775 that American colonists first fought the British. Paul Revere had ridden through the night to warn local militia that the British were marching their way. The militiamen were farmers, merchants, and craftsmen. They numbered less than 100. The British force was 10 times larger, and they were regular soldiers, part of the world's finest army. It was no contest. The firing stopped within moments. 8 Americans lay dead. The only British casualty was a lightly wounded soldier. But the battle came to be known as the shot heard round the world. Democracy had found its champion, a people who were willing to fight to free themselves of a king. From here, the British force marched on Concord, 7 miles to the west. There they faced off against a larger group of local militia. This time, men on both sides fell. As the British marched the 20 miles back to Boston, they were fired upon by Americans positioned in the woods. More than 1,000 Americans, one of them 80 years of age, had grabbed their muskets and joined the fight. The British were trained to fight in the open field, not against men protected by rocks and trees. Soon the British were in full retreat. When they finally reached Boston, they had lost nearly 100 men, double that of the Americans. On that April day, more than 2 centuries ago, Americans fought for a different form of government, one where the people would govern themselves. That vision was idealized a year later in the words of the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The ideas that sparked the American Revolution are today the foundation of America's political culture. Political culture is a term that refers to the deep-seated and widely shared beliefs of a people, beliefs that are so much a part of their thinking that they're almost second nature. Habits of the heart is how the French writer Alexis de Tocqueville describes such beliefs. Now, a nation's political culture gives its politics a distinctive character. Roughly half the world's nations today are classified as democracies. Yet, as a result of cultural differences, they differ markedly in how they're governed. German politics is not the same as Greek politics, any more than Japanese politics is like the politics of India. In this session, we'll examine the American political culture. We'll explore the origins and distinctiveness of Americans' political ideals. We'll talk also about the endurance and the challenges of those ideals. And then we'll conclude with examples of how these beliefs affect contemporary politics. Now, Americans' cultural beliefs originated in fear of others. Influence and control, those are the marks of power. Actors with enough power can impose or cut taxes, prohibit or permit abortion, increase or reduce welfare benefits, you name it. Given what power can do, it's not surprising that much of what happens in politics centers on power, trying to get it, as in the case of campaigning for election to office, and trying to use it, as in the case of lobbying, to influence legislation. In subsequent sessions, we'll examine the distribution of power in the American political system. Who has power in America and who doesn't? That's one of the most important questions to ask and answer about any political system. Okay, let's wrap up what we've said in this session. We noted that Americans' core beliefs, their political culture, originated in the conditions of the New World, particularly its vast tracts of wilderness land. It opened the minds of colonial Americans to a new way of governing, one rooted in beliefs about personal liberty, individualism, equality, and self-government. We also noted that these ideals have been passed along to each succeeding generation of Americans, ensuring their continuing influence on the nation's politics. Americans have argued over the meaning of these ideals, but not whether they're worth keeping. We pointed out some of the challenges that Americans face in living up to their ideals, challenges that stem in part from the demanding and sometimes conflicting nature of these ideals. We then looked at how these beliefs affect public policy, pointing out that they set boundaries on what people will regard as desirable, and thus what they will try to achieve politically. Finally, we noted that politics is the process by which society settles its conflicts over scarce resources and opposing values.